All right, so we are reading Richie Richest. I admit I was worried about my first day of 7th grade. I wondered if I'd be considered a new kid because I wasn't there last year to start middle school with everyone else. But how can you be a new kid when you've only missed 1 year? I'd be more like a new old kid, wouldn't I? I mean, I wouldn't know everyone at middle school, but I'd know all the kids who'd be in 5th grade with me. And I'd still have the same best friend. Fudge didn't seem at all worried about starting a new school year. He and Melissa skipped all the way there. I wish Jimmy still lived in our building so we could walk to school together. Instead, I walked with Sheila Tubman. Now that I wanted to, but but what choice did I have? We went down to the elevator together. It would have been rude to cross the street and just avoid her, right? I was still hoping we wouldn't be in the same homeroom or any of the same classes. The bad news is Sheila's in my homeroom. She's in my science class, my Spanish class too. But I'm trying to keep a positive attitude like Mom said. The good news is Jimmy's also in my homeroom and better yet, in my humanities section. We even have the same lunch period, and nobody at school acted like I was a new kid. Most kids either didn't remember I lived someplace else last year or didn't care. After school, Jimmy came over, same as always. I told him about Melissa and her mother and how Henry painted the apartment and fixed up the kitchen. He got a new refrigerator, I said, expecting Jimmy to laugh and make some joke about salami and onion sandwiches, but he didn't. We hung out in the park for a while at the top of our special rock. Then, just like that, Jimmy said he had to go home. I forgot for a minute that he had moved and he lived downtown now and that he had to take the subway home by himself. I walked him to Central Park West and 72nd Street. Jimmy and I have been best friends since 3rd grade. He lived around the corner then. It was the first place in the city I was allowed to walk by myself. I really liked Jimmy's mom. She told me to call her Anita, not Mrs. Fargo. We had this special game. Every time I left her house, she gave me a graham cracker in case I got hungry on the way home. That was a big joke since it took 2 minutes to get to my building. I was so mad at her when she took off for Vermont, leaving Jimmy with his dad. But then I was happy when Jimmy and his dad moved onto our building. Then I was mad at her again because Jimmy was. Jimmy still didn't like to talk about the divorce or his mother. He keeps everything to himself. He visits her at Christmas and for a month in the summer. I hope I never see her again because if I do, I'll tell her exactly what I think about what she did to Jimmy. And don't tell me there are 2 sides to every story like Mom does because I've seen Jimmy's side up close. Not that I want him to move to Vermont. That would be the worst thing of all, worse than Soho. I'd never get to see him again. Now I know that how he felt in the city last year. I watched as Jimmy disappeared down the stairs into the subway station. I wonder when Mom and Dad will let me take the subway to Soho on my own. That night at dinner, Fudge went on and on about his first day of school. I have 2 teachers in my room, William and Polly, and a library helper. That makes 3 teachers. You need 3 teachers, I said, maybe more, because I'm smart, right? Oh yeah, they don't come any smarter than you. How many teachers do you have, Pete? A different one every hour. Wow, you're really smart. Dad said, when you're in 7th grade, you'll have many teachers, just like Peter. My library helper comes 2 times every week, Fudge said. He's 17. Next year, he's going to be in college. Now, what's his name? Jonathan Girdle. I laughed and said, you probably got that wrong, turkey brain. Peter, Mom said, what did we discuss last night? I don't know. Self-esteem? Mom said, don't you remember? What's that got to do with? I stopped before I finished. Was she talking about me calling Fudge a turkey brain? Mom nodded just like that. Read my mind. But Fudge didn't pay any attention. He went on as if he were the only one at the table. Jonathan told us some people think his name is funny. So I told him some people think my name is funny. Then this girl named Rebecca Noodle said a lot of people think her name is funny. Then Pluto Stevenson said everybody thinks his name is funny. Pluto? I said. Yes, Pluto. But he's not my new best friend. My new best friend is... Wait a minute, I said, interrupting. One day of school and you already have a new best friend? Yeah, Pete, I do. I have to hand it to Fudge. He always manages to find a friend. He never worries like I do when I go someplace new that maybe no one will like me. Guess what my new best friend's name is? Fudge asked. Later that night, I was at my desk. I just finished my math homework and was about to start on Spanish. We're having a vocabulary quiz on Friday. I'm doing my homework, I told him. You're not supposed to bother me while I'm studying, and you're supposed to knock if my door is closed. Fudge and I each have half of a bedroom. There's a divider wall with shelves between us, but we have our own doors to the hallway. I brought you a rice cake, Fudge said, in his best little boy in this world voice. He held it out to me. He's the one who loves rice cakes, not me. They make me gag. They're like eating cardboard. I don't want a rice cake, I told him. You know how I feel about rice cakes. Anyway, aren't you supposed to be in bed? I can't go to bed until you guess, he said, nibbling at the rice cake himself. Okay, what am I supposed to guess this time? Pay attention, Pete, he said. You're supposed to guess my new best friend's name. If you want me to guess, you have to give me a clue, I told him. Okay, his first name is what I want to be when I grow up. King, I guess? Wrong. President? Very funny, Pete. Try again. Let's see. I pretended to think about it. Oh, I've got it. Miser? No. He shoved half the rice cake into his mouth at once. It's Rich.
I got it.
He waited for my reaction. When I didn't say anything, he repeated, his name is Rich. Get it, Pete? It's what I want to be when I grow up. When I still didn't say anything, he added, we call him Richie, and his last name is even better. Here's a clue. He's related to someone very famous, someone we know. He stuffed the rest of the rice cake into his mouth and brushed off his hands. The crumbs landed on my textbook. I don't know anyone really famous. Yes, you do. I give up, Fudge whispered in my ear. He's you know whose cousin. We've been through this before, I told him, wiping off my ear. Harry Potter isn't real. He's a... But before I could finish, Fudge spit on the back of his hand 3 times. You said his name out loud. You have to spit 3 times or something terrible will happen. Hurry! He spit on the back of his other hand. I don't know why Fudge thinks you're supposed to say the name Harry Potter out loud. Not supposed to say that, but he does. It's some kind of magic he invented. I knew he was too young to listen to this book on tape, but Mom and Dad played it anyway, driving back from summer vacation. To tell the truth, it's easier to spit than argue with him. So I did, 3 times on the back of my hand. Phew, Fudge said. That was a close one. I hate to break it to you. I told him, but Potter's a common name. I know at least 2 kids at school whose last name is Potter. It doesn't mean anything. You are so wrong, Pete, until Feather agreed with Fudge. You are so wrong, Pete. So wrong, wrong, wrong. Cover Bird Brain's cage, will you? I said. I can't concentrate on my homework with him yakking. Yak, 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 Uncle Feather said. I reached for my headset and turned up the volume. Sometimes I wonder how I ever survived without it. Richie Potter was at our apartment when I got home from school the next day. He's 2 heads taller than Fudge and so thin you can count his ribs through his shirt. He has a brush cut, big eyes, and big eyes and that blink a lot, like maybe he needs glasses. I could see why Fudge got the idea of that he was, You know whose cousin. He started wheezing right away. Allergies? He explained, digging his inhaler in his backpack, puffing twice. You must have dust mites. I don't know, Fudge said, but Pete has a dog. Dogs are okay as long as they don't lick me, Richie said. If they lick me, I get hives. What about brothers? Fudge asked. Brothers are okay unless they lick their dogs. He and Fudge started laughing. Does your brother lick his dog? Maybe, Fudge said. Hey, Pete, do you? No, I said. Fudge and Richie laughed themselves silly. Want to see my bird? Fudge asked. He can talk. Richie followed Fudge and I followed Richie. I like to be around when Fudge introduces his bird to a new friend. Presenting, Fudge said with a flourish, the one and only Uncle Feather. I have an Uncle Jocko, Richie said. Is your Uncle Jocko a bird? Fudge asked. No, Richie said. He's my mother's brother. Uncle Feather's not related to my mother or my father, Fudge said. He's just related to me. He's all mine. So what does he say? Richie asked. Whatever you want him to say. Richie thought about it. Then he said, Zoo-uppity-bop. Uncle Feather just stood there, his head cocked to one side. Try something else, Fudge said. He really likes words, especially bad words. So Richie said all the bad words he knew, but Uncle Feather wasn't impressed. You try, Richie told Fudge. What's up? Fudge asked Uncle Feather. Usually Uncle Feather answers, What's up? What's up? What's up? But this time nothing. What's wrong? I asked Uncle Feather. Cat got your tongue? I wouldn't say that in front of Tootsie, or she'll start meowing. But Tootsie was taking her afternoon nap. Please don't tease him, Pete. I'm not teasing him. I'm trying to get him to talk. He's not in the mood, Fudge said. Come on, Richie. Let's go get a snack. I followed them to the kitchen. Mom was still in her whites from work. Are you a doctor? Richie asked. No, Mom said. I'm a dental hygienist. One of my grandpas is a very famous neurosurgeon, Richie said. He fixes brains. We know this girl who fell off her bike, Fudge said, and her brains came out of her ears. My grandpa could have put him back in, Richie said. Too bad she didn't know who your grandpa was, Fudge said. What's he talking about? I asked Mom. Mom shrugged and rolled her eyes as if she was wondering the same thing. Then she said, Would you boys like a snack? Yes, please, Richie answered. I love broccoli. Broccoli? Mom repeated. Yes, please, Richie said. I like lightly steamed florets. Mom seemed really surprised. I don't think we have any broccoli in this house, but we do have carrots. Carrots are good, Richie said, dipped in hummus or tahini. Now Mom was really surprised. We don't have hummus or tahini, but we have peanut butter, and that tastes a lot like tahini. Don't you have a cook? Richie asked. No, I'm afraid we don't, Mom said. Oh, I'm sorry, Richie said. I didn't know you were poor. We're hardly poor, Mom said, serving him a bowl of carrots with a side of peanut butter. We just don't have a cook. Fudge watched as Richie took a carrot and swirled it in the peanut butter. Can I have peanut butter and banana? He asked Mom. You know where the bananas are, she told him, pouring them each a glass of milk. You can help yourself. Carrots are hard to eat. With loose teeth, Richie told Fudge as he wiggled his front top tooth. Soon, I'll look like you. What do you mean, Fudge asked. Richie pointed to his mouth. No teeth on top. That's when it's dawned on me that Fudge's classmates are finally catching up to him. They're losing their teeth. Know how much I got from the tooth fairy when I lost my first tooth? Richie asked. How much? $20. And that was just from the tooth fairy. My grandpa gave me another 20 and my uncles gave me 20 apiece. $80 for a tooth? I was thinking, how much did I get, Mom? Fudge asked. Well, Fudge, Mom, you didn't lose your teeth in the usual way. How do you lose your teeth then? Richie asked. He tried flying on top of the climbing bars. I said, fly, Richie said.